everyone can lose fat. Okay. It's just a matter of having the right strategy and the right plan and following it diligently. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Good question here about the physiology behind legs and why they're almost impossible to grow after a certain age. Can you explain that? And how can other body parts respond fine while legs have little to no response to training? Same body, yet different responses between upper and lower body. And then I guess he goes on to ask, how is your leg development coming along these days?
Yeah. You know, legs are very genetic. If I didn't have that torn right quad, you know, like where I still have a partial tear in there, they never repaired completely, I probably would have a lot bigger legs because my legs still respond. I just can't, and I can't squat because I don't want to tear whatever's left there. So for some reason, and I have the fused ankle on that, so I really can't do. If I squat, you know, my legs grow. But I mean, look at Greg Valentino's legs; he's got really good legs. So if you have genetically good legs, you could probably get back to what if you don't have any major injuries. But I think what a lot of guys have as we get older, and especially guys that have been training for a long time and squatting and doing, you know, heavy pressing movements, is I think the spine, the nerves that come out of the spinal, column, I think they start to get a little compressed. And if you compress a couple of them, they're still firing. In other words, they're still innervating the muscles and allowing the muscles to work, but maybe not 100%. Maybe you only have 85% of innervation happening because some of those nerves are not getting to the target to tell it what to do. So I think that's what happens. That's my theory, at least, that, you know, guys who've been training a long time and they get a little older, your spinal cord is not as hydrated. It shrinks down. That's why you lose, you know, pretty much everyone in my age range has lost at least an inch, you know, in height, because that's just what happens when you get older. You know, your spine compresses a little bit. And when it compresses, you're compressing a lot of those nerves. And unfortunately, I think it affects the lower body more so than the upper body, probably because you have a lot of weight on there, and you know it's the lowest point. Remember, the spinal nerves that come out of the lower spine is what innervates the legs. So think about all that weight compressing. So the upper spine is not going to be compressed as much as the lower spine, and I think that's why it translates into the lack of leg development as we get older. And it seems to happen to everyone to some degree, but guys who have better genetics for legs are not affected as badly, but I see it in them too. I notice it in myself as well. I don't have quite the development. Although I still, if I flex my legs, you'd be like, oh, they look freaky, but they're not as big. They're not nearly as big as they were. I mean, so everyone seems to have that little bit of shrinkage going on there. And I think, once again, it's just it's because of age, really what it is.
Let's go to Swit. Regardless of being on cycle or off, as soon as I start to cut body fat, my strength skyrockets. I often found that I'm stronger going into shows than when I started a prep. Food and training is always consistent. What could be behind this rise in strength?
Yeah, you know, I think I used to notice that too when I first started dieting. Toward the end of the diet, I'm not stronger. But, you know, when you lose a lot of bloat, you'd think the bloat would give you more strength because it kind of supports the joints. But sometimes excessively being bloated and holding a lot of body fat, it's fatiguing, you know? So when you start losing a little bit of body fat and you lose some of that fluid retention that's kind of restricting the joints, you have better flexibility, you know, your energy levels are higher. And I think that, you know, your strength goes up because of that. Because I think a lot of people have issues with flexibility. And I think a lot of people feel fatigued because they're carrying around all this extra weight. But if you notice, and most people will confirm this, you get stronger up until a point, and then, like I said, the last 4 to 6 weeks, you notice your strength start going down as body fat gets really, really low. So, that's why I tell people, push as long as you can. Don't lighten the weights up purposely, because they're going to get lighter eventually. But, you just never know when. The more I was able to eat on my diet, so the leaner I stayed in the off season, the more I was able to eat leading into a show, the stronger I found myself that I stayed. But even at my peak of my powers, where I was only really dieting for 4 weeks before a show, the last couple of weeks where I got weaker. It didn't matter that I wasn't dieting for 16 weeks and I was only dieting for 4 weeks. I still got weaker, because when your body fat's super low, and you just have no reserves left, and that's just comes with the territory. So keep the strength up as long as you can. Lift as heavy as you can with good form and full range of motion. And if you lose strength, don't worry about it, because your body only knows what it feels anyway. So I hope that answers the question. That's my theory, at least.
Let's go to M. Seta. Should you take liver health supplements like Tutka or NAC while on cycle with orals, or when you come off cycle, or at all times?
I always did it when I came off cycle. I always did and I really I don't make my own liver product. I sell Bill Llewellyn's Liver Stable. I really like that product a lot. And because I like it so much, I said, hey, Bill, why don't you just wholesale it to me, and I'll sell it on my website. So I sell it on DavePalumbo.com. And, but the reality is, if you can actually afford it and it can fit into your budget, it behooves yourself. I mean, there's no negative to taking it all year round. It's funny, when I was using anabolics, I wasn't using any liver cleansing products, which is what I should have been using, right? I only used them when I would go off. And now that I'm not doing any anabolics, I'm just doing a little HRT. I'm on like a liver product all the time. I'm on Liver Stable. So the advantage is that milk thistle and Tudka and those supplements open up the bile ducts inside the liver, which is where all the garbage goes. It gets dumped in this. So the liver detoxifies, throws all the stuff into the bile ducts, and it drains into the gallbladder. And then when you eat a fatty meal, the gallbladder releases it into the intestinal tract, and then you just poop it out. So it's pulling out all the bile salts, which bind up the LDL bad cholesterol, and all the detoxified drugs that have been detoxified in your body are also in that thing. Now, if the liver starts getting stressed out and it swells, it can pinch off those little bile ducts, and the junk can't get out. So it backs up in the liver. It makes the liver swell, and sometimes scar tissue can be laid down. That's when the liver starts being damaged, and you get fatty infiltrate there. So you want to keep those bile ducts open. So it probably pays to take a product like Liver Stable, all year round. Like I said, you don't have to overdo it, but at least take it so that we keep those bile ducts open, so you can really efficiently detox that liver.
Take a couple of more questions. Ricky Moreno says that he's at the correct body weight for his height, but still has a little gut, a little back fat. The goal is to see, to have the abs and obliques to be more visible. He's asking if he should continue dropping weight. My question would be, to what extent should he continue to drop weight until the abs and the obliques will be visible?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a personal decision, of course, but, and I don't know what his diet is or anything that he's doing, his cardio, as if he's on fat burners, but if he's got fat on him, he can lose it. All right. Everyone can lose fat. Okay. It's just a matter of having the right strategy and the right plan and following it diligently. So there's never been a person I've not worked with that who gave 100% of the process that couldn't get in shape. Even people with the worst absolute genetics of all time, I've gotten them lean and ripped. Okay. So once again, a lot of times, there are people that have been working with coaches that they've been on super low calorie diets, and they've been doing a ton of cardio, and they're on every fat burner known to man, and they still can't get lean. And in those situations, sometimes it's just too much. A lot of times you have to do the reverse, feed these people more, cut them back on the fat burners a little bit, let their body's metabolism restore themselves, and then start dieting them again. So once again, without all that information, it's hard for me to say what's wrong. But if he still has body fat, it could be lost. I can guarantee that.